Good morning. This is Dr. B.V. Ramana. In this video, we will discuss ER diagram notations. To understand the various symbols used in ER diagram, first of all, we need to consider a sample ER diagram. In this diagram, we can see two entities. One is employee, another one is the department. These entities are represented with rectangles. Many employees works in the department. So the relationship between the employee entity and the department entity is works in. That is represented with the diamond symbol. Here each entity is represented with a set of attributes. Those attributes are represented with vowels. Here you can see, here employee entity is represented with three attributes: employee ID, employee name, age. These are represented with the symbol vowel. So these are attributes. Whereas for giving connection between employee and the relationship and employee and the attributes, we need to represent with lines. These lines will give the connection between employees and attributes and employees and a relationship. So these are the categories of symbols or notations we are using in ER diagram. Already we observed rectangles are meant for representing entity, whereas ellipses or ovals are meant for representing attribute, diamonds used for relationship, lines used to provide link between attribute and entity, and also entity and relationship. Now also we observed in that ER diagram, we understood that entity, attribute and relationship are the components of ER diagram. Regarding entity, there are two types of entities. One is strong entity, another one is the weak entity. In a similar fashion, for the relationship also, we have two types. One is strong relationship, another one is weak relationship, is also called as identifying relationship. And also, we can observe here, there are different types of attributes. Now we will see the notation we need to use for each and every case. Let us consider the notation for the entity. The first one is the strong entity. Here, strong entity is represented with the rectangle. Coming to next one, weak entity, it is represented with the double rectangle. These are the two entities. Now we will consider the attributes. Simple attribute is represented with a vowel. Let us observe the symbol for the composite attribute. Here, this one is considered as a composite attribute. Each composite attribute is defined with a set of component attributes. That means if you combine the lower these three attributes, then only you will get the composite attribute. Each one you can call it as a component attribute. That means composite attribute is the combination of various component attributes. Next we will see the multi-valued attribute. The symbol for the multi-valued attribute is double ellipse. That means it has many values. Derived attribute is represented with a dashed ellipse, like symbol for prime attribute. We use ellipse with underline for representing the prime attribute. In this, the prime attribute is nothing but that attribute is considered as a key attribute. That's why it is represented with the underline. Whereas coming to partial attribute, it's not a key attribute, but we can convert that attribute into the key attribute. That's why it is represented with the vowel with a underline, but the underline is a dashed line. Now we will see the annotations for the relationship. Let us consider strong relationship. The symbol we will use to represent the strong relationship is diamond. Another relationship is a weak relationship. It is also called as a identifying relationship. Weak relationship is also called as a identifying relationship, and it is represented with the double diamond. Till now we discussed various symbols used in ER diagram. Now we will see all these things at a glance. Entity is also called as a strong entity. It is represented with a single rectangle, whereas weak entity is represented with a double rectangle. Simple attribute or component attribute or single value attribute, all are represented with the single ellipse, or you can say vowel. Whereas coming to composite attribute, it is represented like this. In this, each composite attribute is the combination of various component attributes. Here this is composite attribute, whereas these three are component attributes. Multi-valued attribute is represented with the double ellipse, whereas derived attribute is represented with the dashed ellipse. Prime attribute is represented with the ellipse with underline. It's a key attribute. Partial attribute is represented with the ellipse with dashed line. It doesn't have the key property. We need to convert this into the prime attribute. Regarding relationship, we have two types, strong and weak relationship. Strong relationship is represented with the diamond, whereas weak relationship is represented with the double diamond. So these are the symbols we will use when we are going to draw the ER diagram. In the next video, we will discuss in detail about all these things. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.